Hey everyone, it's Joe Cannon back for another week of Health Talk. Here we talk about everything under the sun devoted to health and fitness and wellness and nutrition. This week, I want to talk about a dietary supplement. It is a supplement that I've been intrigued with for a number of years, but it is one that usually flies below the radar. I've noticed that when I go into health food stores, Ribose usually is at the back of the store. Nobody pays too much attention to it. But Ribose is a dietary supplement that may have some benefit for men and women who have a condition called fibromyalgia. So that's going to be the topic this week. We're going to talk about Ribose, the research on Ribose potentially helping men and women who have fibromyalgia. Now, I know what you're probably saying. What the heck is Ribose? So Ribose is a sugar, but it's not like any other sugar you've got in your house right now. Ribose is actually a very important part of our bodies. Ribose helps us make our genetic material, DNA and RNA, and we also need Ribose to make energy, specifically the ultimate energy molecule in our body. It's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. You've probably run into that word in biology class, but suffice it to say that ATP is the super duper ultimate energy molecule, and you need Ribose to make ATP. If you've been following the world of supplements, you've probably heard about how niacin may help people live longer. There is a specific type of niacin out there. It gets a lot of publicity, but one of the ways in which niacin is supposed to work is by raising our levels of NAD and NADH. And these are energy molecules. Again, they're involved in the formation of ATP. Well, turns out that Ribose helps us make these NAD and NADH compounds as well. Sidebar, if you've never heard about niacin and its rumored anti-aging potential, skip back in the archives. I think it's episode number 8 where I did a deep dive into niacin and NAD and all that jazz. So I think you'll get a lot out of that if you've never heard about that before. If you are searching for Ribose and you do find yourself at the health food store, you'll see it probably prominently displayed as Ribose. But if you turn around and look at the back of the label, it's usually where they tell you the ingredients. It's probably going to be listed as D-ribose. And D is just a chemistry term. It's not really relevant. It kind of means that the molecule is right-handed. Again, it means dextrorotatory, not relevant for our discussion today. But Ribose, D-ribose, same darn thing. So people use Ribose for a number of things out there. I want to talk about fibromyalgia, but if you do any research in this, you'll see people out there on the web, etc., talking about how Ribose improves their exercise performance and all kinds of other things. And honestly, I'm skeptical of most of those other claims for Ribose, but fibromyalgia is something that I have been intrigued with for a number of years. And so I thought that you might want to know about this compound, especially if you have fibromyalgia. As it turned out, I was recently talking to someone who happened to have fibromyalgia, and this actually came up in conversation, and she had never heard of it before. And she had written back to me a while back and told me that it appeared to be helping. So again, it's conversations like that make me think that this is a very intriguing molecule. But without going further into it just yet, if you've never heard of fibromyalgia before, again, we can't talk about this topic without even bringing up fibromyalgia, because some of you may be saying, well, what is that? If you've never heard of this before, fibromyalgia is it's a medical condition. It's a health problem. It's classified as a type of arthritis, but it's different than other types of arthritis, rheumatoid, osteoarthritis, gout. It's really different than that. People with fibromyalgia, they have some strange symptoms. The prominent symptom that people appear to have with fibromyalgia is they basically feel like they're in pain all the time. All over their body, they're in pain. The pain is also localized to certain areas of the body, behind the neck, the crease in the arms, the knees, and stuff like that. But so that is the main hallmark symptom of fibromyalgia, that chronic pain. But people with this condition also have other issues as well. They're tired all the time. They have trouble concentrating. They don't sleep very well. They really don't sleep well at all. And that actually can play a role in how bad their pain is. The worse sleep they get, the worse their pain tends to be. When they do get up in the morning, they're kind of stiff. They don't really just jump out of bed in the morning. They're kind of stiff, and it takes them a little bit of time to get moving. As you can imagine, people with fibromyalgia are depressed. They're depressed because they're in pain all the time, and this is going to cause them a lot of anxiety. They'll have headaches, and even some people actually report that they have gastrointestinal problems. They don't have bowel movements the way they used to, etc. So there's a lot of issues surrounding this condition. As a matter of fact, fibromyalgia, when I first heard about it, was just called fibromyalgia. Now it's actually called fibromyalgia syndrome. Again, to encompass all the other issues people seem to be having. So as you can imagine by that real quick synopsis I just gave you, fibromyalgia, it's a challenge for people. It definitely is a challenge for individuals who have this disorder. And I can tell you that I have worked with several people over the years who have fibromyalgia. So I can personally attest to how debilitating this condition can be. One day, somebody may feel generally okay, and then 24 hours later, they feel horrible. So there really is no way to gauge how someone's going to feel in the morning. From day to day, they may feel totally different. So while I can tell you beyond a doubt that exercise will help fibromyalgia, I know it will. I've worked with people over the years, and again, it takes time, but it will work. There's no doubt about that. Stretching is important. Aquatic exercise is important. Again, we're not talking running marathons when I say exercise. When it comes to fibromyalgia, usually gentle exercise is the better way to go. And while that's going to help, and yeah, there are some medications. You may have seen some medications for fibromyalgia even advertised on television. I want to tell you about potentially a natural, I won't say a solution, but a natural compound that may help, and that's Ribose. So I think the very best way to explain Ribose to you is to tell you the research on Ribose, the pros and cons of that research, to help you better decide for yourself if this is right for you. So the very first report of Ribose helping fibromyalgia basically came out in 2004. And it was back then that there was an interesting report that got published of a doctor who had fibromyalgia. She was a surgeon, if I remember correctly, and after not having any success with pain medications or physical therapy, for some reason she starts to use Ribose to treat her condition. Now, why she started looking into Ribose, I honestly can't tell you. I actually looked at this report, and there was no reason why she decided to start taking Ribose, because prior to this report, I don't think anybody had ever thought that this might help. But it is what it is, and she started taking Ribose. So what she did was she took 5 grams of this Ribose sugar a day, and she did it twice a day. So if you're doing the math, that's 10 grams of Ribose a day. After 2 weeks of doing this regimen, after 2 weeks, she started to notice she's sleeping better. She doesn't have fuzzy thinking. She's more clear in her thoughts. Her pain starts to subside, and her bathroom habits start to get better. Her bowel movements improve. After another 6 weeks of taking this Ribose supplement, she reports major improvements in all of her fibromyalgia symptoms. That's pretty impressive, because this stuff apparently started to work pretty fast after about 2 weeks, and after 6 weeks, she's reporting drastic improvements. So if that report stopped right there, that would have gotten my attention, but that's where things got interesting. So about a month after she's doing all this stuff with the Ribose and she's feeling good, she decides to do something interesting. She decides to stop taking the supplement just to see what happened. And within 1 week, her fibromyalgia symptoms start to return. And when that happens, she does what any scientist would do. She says, let's see what happens if I start taking it again. Again, she goes back on taking her 10 grams of Ribose a day, And within 2 weeks, she starts to notice that she's feeling better again. Her fibromyalgia symptoms are starting to subside. But wait, there's more. About a month later, she does the same thing again. She gets off of the Ribose to see what would happen. Lo and behold, soon after she stops taking the Ribose, her fibromyalgia symptoms again begin to occur again. And then what does she do? She jumps back on the supplement again, and her symptoms once again begin to go away. So I like this report, and it is a report. It's not a clinical study of 100 people or anything like that. It's a report of one person, a doctor. And what I like about this is she starts taking the Ribose, she notices it working, she then gets off of the Ribose to see what happens. Her symptoms come back. She gets off of it again, and then she goes back on it again. So she's using herself as her own treatment group and placebo group, if you will. And again, I know for the scientists listening to me right now, you're saying, but it could have been a placebo effect. Maybe, it's possible. I want to try to give her the benefit of the doubt because she's a physician and she's aware of the placebo effect. Again, that's me reading into this. I'm giving her a benefit of the doubt on this. And I do know that doctors are not immune to placebo effects and biases and stuff like that. But I do like the fact that she gets on it, she gets off it, she gets back on it, and her symptoms get worse and get better as she's taking and not taking the supplement. So to me, that means a lot. So I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying to yourself, but Joe, this report kind of came out in 2004. I mean, that was a long time ago. What's going on today? Do we have any updates on how she's doing today? I've actually looked into this. I've been looking into this fibromyalgia Ribose thing for a long time, and I have tried to find follow-ups to this initial report to see if she's still having improvements, if there have been any issues, and unfortunately, I can't find any follow-ups to this. Given how this was the watershed moment in fibromyalgia Ribose research, if you will, I think that's actually, kind of unfortunate because this is the report that kind of started everything. Ribose has actually been advertised to people with fibromyalgia in magazines and on websites. And if you do a quick Google search, you're probably going to find it. People talking about it and websites talking about it, etc. And again, a lot of it basically started with this individual. So I would have loved to have seen a follow-up to this to see how she's doing right now, all these years later, but I can't find any. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And, my hope is that she's continuing to do well. And I continue to see if I can find research on this. But so far, this is what I can find on her alone. This, fortunately, is not the end of the story because there are a couple other studies out there on Ribose and fibromyalgia and even chronic fatigue syndrome as well. Chronic fatigue syndrome is, I don't want to say a related condition to fibromyalgia, but with people with fibromyalgia, they are chronically fatigued. And chronic fatigue syndrome is another phenomenon where, again, people feel tired all the time. And there have been a couple of investigations that have looked at whether Ribose can help, again, both fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. In the largest study to date, and this one was done, again, several years ago, it involved 235 people. They had either chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia. Here, the researchers gave the individuals 5 grams of Ribose for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks in a row, every single day, the people took 5 grams of Ribose. And after the study was over, the people reported on questionnaires before they did questionnaires before and after the Ribose to see how they felt. And they reported on these questionnaires that they felt significantly improved energy levels, better mental clarity, their sleep quality improved significantly, and overall, they just felt better after taking the Ribose. That sounds great. All this stuff sounds great. When I looked at this study, I realized it had a problem, however, that I really do need to bring to your attention, and that problem is there was no placebo group. That's a problem in my book. It would have been a much, much better study if those 235 people were randomly given Ribose supplements or a placebo. If that had been done, this would be the very best study out there in terms of Ribose and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. So I don't know why they didn't pick a placebo group. I don't know why they designed it this way, but again, it is what it is. But I do like the fact that it involved 235 people. I don't see too many dietary supplement studies out there involving over 200 people. So I can give them credit on that. Again, I just wish it was a better investigation as far as I'm concerned. That's that study. We have another study. And this is a smaller investigation, much more in line with what I normally see when it comes to dietary supplements. Here, researchers recruited 41 different people, and they had, again, either fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. One of the things I do like about this study is it was mostly made up of women. And why is that important? Because most of the people who get fibromyalgia are women. Why women? Again, that's part of the mystery of fibromyalgia. I can't tell you. There are some men who get fibromyalgia, but it is the vast majority who get it are women. So I can appreciate how they mostly recruited women for this investigation. Now, here, these researchers had the people take 15 grams of Ribose every single day, and they did so for 1 month. So this is a 1-month study, which, again, I'm okay with because that original report I told you about, again, that doctor started seeing the results pretty fast. The people in the study, again, they did before and after questionnaires to see how they felt. What did they find? By the end of the month, 23 out of the 35 people reported that Ribose supplements helped them feel better. Now, if you do the math, that's about 66% of the people saying that Ribose helped them. When you looked at their responses on the questionnaires, they ranged from anywhere from they felt much better with Ribose to somewhat better for Ribose. So again, it's probably going to vary according to what's going on with the person. There's probably going to be an individual response with Ribose if these questionnaires are to be believed. The people also reported significant improvements in their sleep quality, their energy level went up, again, their mental clarity, their pain was less, and again, overall, they felt better taking the Ribose. Again, all this sounds great. Problem with this study as well, no placebo group. I don't get that. I don't get why there's no placebo group in these two studies. And again, I say that because when you look at the research out there, and these 3 studies, 1 report and 2 clinical studies I just told you about, you got the report from the doctor. Okay, she's one person. I tend to view that a little bit more better, if you will, than the other 2. But if you look at those other 2 studies, yeah, they both lack placebo groups. I think that's a problem in my book. But also, one of those studies was actually supported by a company that makes Ribose supplements. They should know how to do that study. So why there's no placebo group, I don't get. It's a mystery to me, but it is what it is. So we've got 3 different data points, if you will, here. We've got the report from the doctor, which again shows some very interesting outcomes. We've got these 2 studies, which again appear to show that Ribose helps fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. They're all back to both of them as no placebo group. Overall, when I looked into this, and I literally did look into this again right before I recorded this, I can't find any other clinical studies of the Ribose supplement helping either fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. What's up with that? These studies were done several years ago. So why isn't anybody come out with any more recent research? I can't tell you. I can only tell you that it's unfortunate because this is a very intriguing compound. And on a personal note, again, even though I can't find any other research in this, on a personal note, I can tell you that over the years, several women have told me in private that Ribose supplements have helped their fibromyalgia symptoms. Again, that's encouraging. It really is encouraging to hear that from people. But I still, I'm as you can tell if you've been listening to my podcast for any length of time, I'm a bit of a research nerd. I go where the research takes me. And I would love to see some placebo-controlled randomized clinical trials here. The writing on the wall is very, very intriguing. Again, I just would love to see some fresh eyes looking at this. So I've just presented to you the research on Ribose and fibromyalgia. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, this sounds great, Joe. How the heck does this stuff work? I got to tell you, it's about as mysterious as fibromyalgia itself. I can't find a consensus on a mechanism behind which how this stuff works. When I do my own research on this, I see websites and different people saying, well, Ribose helps us make ATP energy better, and people with fibromyalgia may have low levels of ATP. Well, maybe they do. I've actually seen some research that says people with fibromyalgia actually have higher levels of ATP. But that really gets to the issue here, is that really nobody knows. Nobody knows how this works. And again, I don't want to just be trumpet the research here. I do want you to go into this cautious and say the research is interesting, but the research, I think, needs to be better. And I also think people would probably have different results if you were to take this. I can't say it's going to work for everybody, but in terms of how it works, it's a mystery. I have not seen a good explanation of how it works. Again, that's probably going to happen as better research is conducted. But right now, I can't tell you. Nobody can. The other thing you're probably wondering about, if you're listening to me as you're riding a bike or you're driving a car, probably the first question you probably ask yourself is, what's the best brand of Ribose to take? Now, if you're heading to the health food store right now, I want you to realize that I personally think that all Ribose is pretty much going to be the same. If it's made from a reputable company, I think they'll all work pretty much the same way. That said, when I looked at these research studies and reports that I just told you about, they all have one thing in common. They use the same brand of Ribose. And that Ribose brand is called Corvalin. Corvalin. Some people call it Corvalin. Potato. So this is a product that's been around for a number of years. I've seen it in health food stores. It can be found online. I'll link to it in the episode notes so you can check it out for yourself to make your life a little bit easier. But that is the brand of Ribose that these reports and clinical studies actually have used. Again, if you can't find it and you want to try with some other brand, I personally think Ribose is Ribose, but I cannot deny the research and the reports are using the Corvalin brand. As for dosage, how much are you going to use with this stuff? Well, if you just do a quick little summary of what I just told you, the research and the reports are using anywhere from 5 grams a day to up to 15 grams a day, and that's been used with this research. Like any new supplement, to be honest with you, I wouldn't start with 15 grams a day. Heck, I don't even think I would start with 5 grams a day. I'm a big fan of starting with the least you possibly can. So start with 2 to 3 grams. Ribose usually, it comes as a powder form. Yeah, there's capsules out there, but there's also, it's a powdered supplement, and the powdered supplement comes with a little tiny scoop usually. And you could get out a little scoop and just, put a little bit in your juice or something like that. But start with the least amount you can do, at least for the first week. I think that's wise for any new supplement you take. Always starting with the least you possibly can take, because everybody's different. And some people may have side effects. Some people may not have side effects. So if you're going to have any, then, taking the least would minimize those. You may notice differences in about a month, maybe less. And that's another reason why I'm intrigued with Ribose, because, when you look at research on supplements out there, sometimes, they'll say, well, you got to take it for 6 months and, oh, you can't feel it working and stuff like that. Here is a supplement that apparently, if it's going to work, you'll notice in less than a month. And I think that's a good thing, because I don't want, if this is not going to work, I don't want you spending 2 years taking some product that may or may not work. You'll know fairly fast if it's going to work for you or not. And I think that's really, really good. Now, as for side effects, I like telling people the side effects, because usually in the world of dietary supplements, you hear the claim, oh, there's no known side effects. No known side effects doesn't mean there's not any side effects. So I like telling people known and potential side effects, just so you go in eyes wide open on all this stuff. And when it comes to Ribose, again, let's remember, it's a sugar. And so generally speaking, I don't think most people are going to have a problem with that. Again, especially if you take the suggestion of starting with less in the beginning. But generally speaking, I would say, if you have any kind of heart problems or blood pressure problems, you talk to your doctor first. I think that's really wise, especially if you have any kind of a health problem, and fibromyalgia is a health problem. You may be taking medications for fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. So we want to make sure there's no interactions with medications. If you're having surgery, you absolutely talk to your doctor. Again, one of the things with ribose is it might lower blood sugar levels, cause hypoglycemia, which again, if you're having surgery, that can be a problem. Along the same lines, for diabetics, people taking diabetes medications, again, if it causes hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, there could be an interaction with those medicines. But generally, when I look at the research out there, again, with those studies and reports I just told you about, I didn't see any adverse effects. But again, that just doesn't necessarily mean, everybody won't have adverse effects. It could be. So again, eyes wide open is always good when you're taking any kind of dietary supplement for the very first time. When I first wrote about this ribose and fibromyalgia many years ago in my dietary supplement book, again, I've been intrigued for years, ever since I first came across this research. I think this is definitely a dietary supplement that is prime time ready to have some fresh eyes to take a look at it. So if you are a graduate student in college right now, and you're sitting there and you're wondering what you might do your dissertation or master's thesis on, hint, hint, wink, wink, this might be an excellent topic. There's not a lot of research out there. You could be the big fish in a small pond, or small fish in a big pond. I don't know how. You get what I'm saying. There's not a lot out there. So if you're trying to get your research published, this is a really good opportunity for anybody who's working in a lab right now, such as a grad student. And I like talking to grad students every once in a while about this stuff, because I think graduate students are underutilized in the world of dietary supplement research, because they have a laboratory and they need to get work done, such as a dissertation or a master's thesis. So I would love to see better collaboration between the dietary supplement world and universities, but that's my own take on that. If you have fibromyalgia and you have tried Ribose, let me know if it helped you or didn't help you. Because again, I'm very intrigued with this, and I don't say that very much with very many dietary supplements, but the writing on the wall is very, very interesting. So I would like to hear from you if you've tried this and it helped. Again, I've heard from women over the years who've told me that it has helped them. I haven't heard from any men, by the way. So if you're a guy and you've tried Ribose, let me know as well. Again, who knows? Maybe there's a gender issue going on with fibromyalgia we don't know about. But again, I'm always curious to hear how people are reacting to dietary supplements. So let me know what happens. I'm always curious to hear. You can reach me easily at my website, supplementclarity.com. Supplementclarity.com. There's a little contact button at the top of that page, and you can easily find me. So hopefully I was able to tell you something you hadn't heard before about dietary supplements, and go out and tell other people and let me know how it goes for you. And with that, I'm going to bring our time this week to a close with the quote of the week, which comes to us this week from tennis great Arthur Ashe, who said, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." Until next week, I'm Joe Cannon. Go out, be safe, and where you can, try to make a difference.